This video is about using a wood lathe, but I want to back up a little bit because a lot of you guys out there, like myself, cut a lot of wood. And you probably ask yourself, there's got to be something that I can do with this wood. Matter of fact, years and years ago, I used to have a wood pile that was just so big that I invited wood turners to go through the pile and take what they want. My son Callie is an avid rock climber, and he likes to make rock climbing holds for his climbing wall, and he is literally climbing the walls these days. But he's got this climbing board that he's got set up in his backyard that I'm pretty impressed with it. He is an amazing rock climber, and he stays in shape in these days at home, and that's an overhanging wall there, and that's not easy. But let's get back to the woods. Let's talk about what I'm talking about here. I did make those climbing holds with Callie. I helped him cut the blanks, he cut the holds, and I think he's actually selling those holds. So if you're a rock climber, you ought to talk to him. Give me a line, and I'll put you in touch with him. So my daughter Callie said to me, "Dad, I want to use the wood lathe." So I was thinking about this madrone that we were cutting and how beautiful it was. You know, there's a lot of cracks in it, so you kind of work around the cracks. This is a dead piece of madrone that's been drying for a while, and I was surprised that it's almost bone dry on the inside, but the cracks were not bad at all. So Callie says she wants to make her mom a mallet for the kitchen, and we utilized all the sawdust for the chickens. So we took the blank, and you can see how clear it is, and Callie and I cut a circle on there, took it to the big bandsaw. I've got a great big bandsaw that's actually out on the back porch of my workshop, and I'm teaching her how to rough it out, get it really close to the line. She's taken wood shop in school, in high school, and it's been a couple of years since she's done any work in the shop. I always talk to kids, anybody actually, about long hair. Make sure that long hair is tucked up underneath because it can get you. Any kind of tool that moves, the hair can get caught up into it. So be very careful, including the wood lathe. So I took her down to the basement where I have an old wood lathe. There's nothing special here, and I'm not professing to be an expert on using the wood lathe, but I do have a lot of experience with it. If you want advanced lessons in using a wood lathe, there is so much on the internet. But if you just want a basic overview of what it's like to use the wood lathe, follow along. I think you'll like this. I highly recommend that if you're going to get a lathe or try using one, that you don't get too ahead of yourself. Start with just a basic cylinder. Here we're making a mallet, and it's very important to make sure that this mallet is true, because a true piece of wood spins cleanly, and then you can speed it up. I'm actually starting off in the slowest setting, and this is called between centers turning. It is held in place between the centers, and you can practice working on the lathe with the different tools. This is called the roughing gouge, and this is one of the more aggressive tools to get started with. And as you can see, I'm giving her some pointers here on how to get it down as close to true as possible, because ultimately it has to be dead true, so it's not wobbling on the wood lathe. I'm very proud of my daughter. You've probably seen her in a few of my videos. Proud of all my kids. But Callie's taken an interest in wood turning, woodworking. So, hey, if any of your kids say they're interested, you jump on it. You say, okay, let's go do it. Because kids these days, they seem to lose interest in things so quickly.
All right, let me show you a little bit, okay?
So I'm just going to let you follow along and watch this. And I do have some comments in there in the background, but if you are interested in utilizing some of your byproduct, I really recommend you think about getting a wood lathe. Start with a used one. For a few $100s, you can have a hobby that will turn some of this waste wood into, if nothing else, Christmas presents or gifts for, maybe your clients. Say you've got a client that has a special tree that, meant something to them and it finally died.
Okay.
You can turn a vase or something out of it, or a bowl, and return it to the client, and the sentimental value of getting back a piece of wood from their treasured tree means a lot more than you can imagine. So go ahead and follow along, and hope you undertake working with some of your own waste wood.
Sleeve is also something that you should have rolled up. Yeah. I should have told you that earlier. Sleeves have a tendency to catch things sometimes. Not necessarily on a wood lathe, but that's just a good rule of thumb. Go ahead and turn it off. Let's see if we've got it all the way around. I think you'll be surprised. Looking pretty good. See, it's kind of up and down, up and down,
yeah,
up and down.
gotta make it flatter.
Go all the way around. Did you get the end?
Nope.
Oh, still a little bit over there. So you got to go another 1/4 inch or so.
Yeah.
There's a few little cracks here, but I think those will disappear. So what I want you to do now is, instead of doing lots of little jab cuts, try and use your hand as the guide and put it in there and make one long straight shot all the way along, keeping it at the same level, so that when you're finished, you don't have these up and down motions. That's kind of hard to do. Go ahead. Yeah, good solid grip, and put it straight into it, straight in like that. Now get it up so that you can get the spot, and then guide your hand all the way along this ridge. Keep going, make one long straight shot. Yep. Let me show you. What you want to do is you want to get it in close, and once you start cutting, keep it going. You don't have to go too fast. And I'm not taking too much. I kind of slipped there. And what you're looking at is this edge right here, because this determines what your shape is. So it's not quite flat. We can true it up with a skew. This back here is off a little bit. This over here is a little bit sharp. Now you're almost ready for the skew. Interesting tool here. Some people use it as a scraper. And if you go in flat like that as a scraper, what it's doing is it's coming down and it's scraping the stuff off. But the real way to use a skew, you come up from underneath right here, and then you're using that as a cutting surface, and you work it into it until it's a cutting surface, and then you pull that straight all the way across. Okay, I got it close. But you feel the little ridges? It's got to go quite a bit more. But you should be able to get almost a completely finished surface with the skew. There's a little bit of rip out right there. So this edge is off right here. So once you get that, some people go into it this way. I don't like to go into it this way because then you have a tendency to dig in if you move just a little bit. So I always like to start at the back right here, get the angle correct. You can even drop this a little bit for the skew. Okay, so if you drop that down and you put it right up here, you just want to be careful that you don't jam it when it goes in. So as it goes, you go into it very slowly, and you want that angle to be about like that because you want it to be slicing the wood off. You want nice clean shavings. You know, you want shavings, not sawdust. If you do it this way, it becomes sawdust. Now, you can actually finish it up using this like a scraper, and that'll give you the last final finish, but that doesn't do any cutting. Well, it does, but it's a different type of cutting. But when you use it as a scraper, it has more of a tendency to pull out the fibers rather than cutting the fibers. So one more quick little shot here. Go down low, up at an angle, stay stable in your hand. Start at the very end, and that skew, you want to pull it all the way across. I'm barely touching it at all. I'm just taking a very light cut now. Okay, I got it close. I'm gonna let you keep working on it. Let's see what. Remember, the end grain soaks up a lot. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's just mineral oil. You can get that on your hands.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you.